take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I am pretty good. How are you tonight?
I've been better.
Yeah,
New year, same shit with the Ravens in the playoffs, man. Another heartbreaking way to lose a game.
yeah,
Uh,
most tough.
I guess let's just start there. NFL playoffs, the divisional round this weekend, usually always a great weekend of football. Uh, Pretty good weekend of football
Yeah, it
this week, too.
was.
Had a few good games, actually,
Mm-hmm.
compared to last weekend when there's just the
All right.
one. But let's start, I guess, with my Ravens. The game that just finished not too long ago, a 27-25 loss in Buffalo to the two seed Bills, and just another just Ravens under the last honestly since the Super Bowl, the way they lose playoff games, just out of character.
Yeah,
Three turnovers. Uh, they don't. Lamar threw four interceptions all season, threw a bad one early in the game. Looked like a miscommunication with the receiver. Had just a weird fumble where it was a bad snap. He recovered and then just ball slipped out of his hands.
yeah,
And then Mark Andrews. Uh, I, my one, I know there's a. I'm sure you've seen that meme going around. It's like, what's your boomer complaint? Mine is receivers fighting, doing all this dancing after a catch to try to get like 2 or 3 yards. I hate it. I hate it so much. It,
mm-hmm.
it, it rarely, like 0.3% of the time, it ends up being a big play. And even then, this guy's like Tariq Hill that can do it. You have to be special.
Yeah, you're right.
And it usually ends up in a loss of yards. You lose like some important yards, or what happened to Mark Andrews today on a crucial time of the game. Ravens
Mm-hmm.
were driving, dominated the second half, tail of two halves, all Buffalo the first half. And then the Ravens were dominating second half, driving down five. They looked like they were going to score, take the lead. Andrews catches a ball wide open, too. All he needed to do was turn up field, get a couple, whatever yards till he was tackled. Then he tries this juke, gets the ball punched out.
Yeah,
And then I just hate it, man. And that damn juking and dancing. And, I hate to give credit to the Peyton Manning era Colts, but man, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, their receivers coach, their offensive coach, I don't know who was the one that really taught them this, but they were just the absolute best. When they caught the pass, they either got down if they were in traffic, or they knew where
mm-hmm.
the first down marker was and they dove for it. There was
Yeah,
no dancing, there was no fighting
mm-hmm.
for
Right.
2 extra feet with six guys stripping you.
Yeah,
And then, the Ravens rebound still, and a big hold down on the goal line. Buffalo goes for the
yeah,
field
that was
goal.
huge.
Huge. And honestly, I'm a little shocked that Buffalo didn't go for the touchdown there. I know everybody's saying, oh, you take the points, but man, I mean, if you
That
score
could have
there,
been a
that's ball
knockout
game.
points.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
score there, it's ball game. And if
and
you
if not, they
don't,
got 99 yards to go.
yeah, and your defense has been playing fairly well. Like I said,
Yeah,
the second half, the Ravens have turned it on, but still 99 is
right.
a lot to ask for in the NFL.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially in that weather and everything. Yeah,
hmm Yeah, and then so they kick field goal, go up 8. Ravens drive down. Great play on the touchdown. Great protection. Lamar found Isaiah
beautiful pass.
Likely.
Yeah,
Isaiah Likely. There needs to be some award for the scramble drill, because anytime Lamar does one of those scrambles, it's likely who he finds.
yeah, right.
Yeah, great pass,
He
great
got
catch, and then 2-point play. And they run that little kind of rub route out. Mark Andrews is
yeah,
wide open in the flat.
wide
Jackson
open.
hits him right in the gut and a little behind him. You mentioned that off, before we started recording. It wasn't a perfect pass, but it was right there for him.
Yeah, I
You
think I
got to catch it.
always used to tell
Yeah.
tell us in high school, if it hit you in the hands, catch the goddamn ball.
Yeah. Especially, Pro Bowl, all pro guy. And, look,
Yeah,
it's easy in the moment to say, fuck Mark Andrews, but no,
yeah,
he's, best tight end in Ravens history. He's been
right.
a multiple time Pro Bowler, all pro, one of the most
Absolutely.
dependable guys in the league.
You hate
Uh,
to see it happen to them the most.
Yeah, exactly. You hate this for him. The rare fumble for him and a rare drop in
Yeah,
such a
all
crucial
on the same
situation.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, both in the
Ah,
second half to fourth quarter,
right.
even. So
Game
I
changer.
absolutely hate it for him. But
Yeah.
you also mentioned something before we started recording. how do you have two-point conversion tries and Derrick Henry doesn't
Mhm.
touch the ball in either of them?
Yeah. Or even
And
have Lamar just run the ball.
yeah, and this has been a thing of mine for a few years now. Even with Greg Roman, they didn't do this as much as they ran with him.
Hmm.
You have the most dynamic player, with the ball in his hands in the league,
No, absolutely.
and the Ravens are terrible at two-point conversions, man.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
They get in their
They'll
head, they make weird play
overthink it.
calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, they overthink it. They had Derrick Henry on the field for the first one, and they
And they
motioned him down or whatever, and they tried to throw the little pass over the linebacker. Linebacker made a play, knocked it down. And then you get this second one, and again, same thing. Roll Lamar out, and they had the pass they wanted. You can't
I
fault the
mean,
play
it was
call
the
there.
first. They called it right there in the second time. I mean,
Yeah, and it was
gonna
right there. Yeah,
yeah.
it was
Uh,
executed perfectly,
that's
except for
tough.
the catch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand. You add Derrick Henry this year, and not it wasn't like the AFC title game last year where they just didn't run. They ran the ball. He had
Yeah.
18 carries, 80 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably would have had more, but the game script, they just fell behind a couple of scores. You can't,
Right. They
you
had
know,
to
you
pass the
can't.
ball in those
Yeah, you got to
situations.
pass the ball, and then it was working what they were doing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, in those situations, I don't understand how you don't read option with Lamar and Derrick Henry every time.
Yeah.
Because it's going to score probably 9 out of 10 times.
80. Yeah. Yeah. At least 80.
Uh,
Yeah. For sure.
uh, but yeah, so
Ah,
Bills
it's
Bills
tough.
move on. Tough, yeah,
Mhm.
tough game as a Ravens fan. But I'll let you speak on it as a neutral observer. What did you think of the game in Buffalo?
I mean, it was a hell of a game. I mean, it lived up to the hype. It was a fun game there. It seemed like Buffalo was starting to pull away, but the Ravens kept with that fight, brought it back. Got it down to where they could go for the 2-point conversion at the end there. I mean, phenomenal outings by both quarterbacks. I mean, you see why both are considered MVP candidates. I mean, they lived up to the hype of everything you would hope that game would have lived up to. As an outside, it's one of those games you kind of hate to see somebody lose. Either way, you hope next week. Well, for me, I mean, I do hope Buffalo beats Kansas City. See something different in the Super Bowl.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm in anyone but Kansas City mode right now.
Yeah, I mean, and even more so because I mean, on the NFC side, I'm in a horrible state.
I know two
Oh
rivals.
God. And it's just the fact, we just, that, it's hard to say, did we get rid of the wrong guy there, as far as the
Mhm.
coach? Because, of course, first year, now he's in the NFC Championship game. And then, Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator, possibly, we've already interviewed him for the head coaching job. And Eagles are in there as well. So, yeah, we'll talk about those games. But if it comes down to those in Kansas, one of those in Kansas City, I'm like, dude, I'm not even that interested. I mean, of course, it's Super Bowl. Damn. Anyway,
uh, yeah, it's just a tough way to lose the Ravens. All credit to the
yeah,
the Bills. They kept it simple, man. They kept
yeah,
it
they did.
really simple. Didn't really do anything. Didn't really take shots downfield. And
No, they didn't. I mean, Western didn't even have 200 yards passing today.
yeah, no, Allen did have a couple rushing touchdowns, a couple big
Yeah,
rushes. They took care of the ball. Most
nothing.
importantly, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's a testament to the Ravens. As much as I rag on John Harbaugh, it is a testament to the team that they can have three turnovers and still have a chance to tie it up and force overtime
right,
late in the game.
exactly.
Um, but then again, as I say, I'm not a John Harbaugh hater by any means. He is a good coach, a very good coach, one of the better ones in the league, but maybe a little overrated
Something
because these things happen every year now, and you have a
ever.
generational player, and
Right.
the losses. It's something new. It's a new way, but they're all kind of the same script. Like
Yeah,
uncharacteristic mistakes and
yeah,
lackadaisical start or whatever.
right.
So again, my thing with John Harbaugh isn't necessarily. I don't think necessarily think they should fire him. I don't think it's. I'm just saying
Yeah. It's,
there's a
it gets old.
conversation to be had.
It
Yeah,
gets old. It gets old eventually. It gets old
yeah.
eventually.
Sometimes it happens. Dynasty. Sometimes just you need a fresh start, and
Yeah.
again, I think it's worth Ravens own. If I were Ravens ownership front office, I would have that conversation. Again, it may
Yeah,
be, and 99% of the time it ends up like, no, what are we talking about? We have, a great coach
yeah,
and staff. Let's just, hey, continue to, because yeah, the
right,
players are the ones that, dropping the ball, throwing interceptions. So,
right,
but, yeah, credit the Bills. They'll go on to Kansas City
right.
next week, who Chiefs took care of the Texans relatively easily. Texans had a few spots here and there. They,
Yeah, I mean there were definitely some situations. It seemed like the refs were really gave Kansas
mm-hmm,
City
mm-hmm.
same storyline. The most surprising thing with that game, I mean, and that's gotta be tough for the Texans. I mean, they outgained the Chiefs by over 100 yards, and they had no turnovers and still lost. Like, yikes, that's tough.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Anytime
I
you
didn't.
can,
Go ahead.
anytime you can outgain a team by over 100 and you don't even turn the ball over and you still lose. I mean, sometimes like what else could you really do? I
Yeah,
mean, you could,
exactly. Yeah, what else can you
jeez.
do? And especially with what they were lacking in that receiving department. If they have Stephon Diggs and
Yeah,
Tank Dell, maybe there's something different.
yeah.
It was nice to see. John. I know John Mechie called a pass or two. It's nice to see
Hmm.
him there, but
And Will Anderson is a beast.
he is absolutely that. Yeah, I don't think Houston fans should worry. I know they had a little bit of a regression this year, but
They'll be fine.
man, yeah, they'll be fine. Just
Just
keep
keep doing what you got.
keep surrounding CJ Stroud with
Draft
talent.
well, and
Keep
yeah,
keep adding depth and players to that
absolutely,
defense. And yeah, and
absolutely.
you're in a division that's all yours
Yeah,
right now.
for sure, absolutely. But
Um,
it's
but
tough though.
yeah,
I mean, but
yeah, it's tough, but a good effort,
same time, I
and so
mean,
we
the
get.
Texans. It's not like they have great history. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they have
Hmm.
this phenomenal history. I mean, what they're doing. I mean, you got to look at where they were before.
Hmm.
D'Amico
Hmm.
took over. I mean, they were in a terrible spot,
Yeah,
flipping coaches
and
every year.
not only that, but no one expected them to be this
No,
good this fast either.
right? Yeah.
Did they, what D'Amico's only been there these 2 years,
And
right?
this is
So
the
that he
second
could,
year. Yeah, I mean, they
yeah, they could have
won a playoff
easily,
game last year. They won a playoff game this year. Ran
right,
to the
yeah,
Ravens last year. Ran into the Chiefs this year. Uh,
2 straight division titles too, right? They were
yeah,
South
yeah,
champions last year, weren't they?
yeah, yep,
Well, wait, no, yeah, they were,
yeah.
because they
Because
went to the Ravens in the second round. Yeah,
because the Jags choked at the Week 17 last year.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, against the Colts or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he could have easily won, 5 games the first year, like 8, 9 games this year, and people would have been like, oh, hey, D'Amico's,
Hey, they're
they're
getting
doing
better.
something there, yeah, yeah.
And
But
not only
now
that, they're
what he's
winning
done, yeah,
division,
yeah. So hold your head
winning
up, Texans fans.
divisions,
Yeah,
winning
it's
playoff
yeah.
games. Like,
Got a young quarterback who's great. Got a young. You have
it's
your
just
foundational pieces on both sides of the
oh,
ball.
absolutely are there,
I
absolutely.
know I know there were some people that criticized their move. Once they get drafted Stroud, they traded back into that third spot or whatever to get Will Anderson. I saw a lot of
But
people at the time criticize
it,
that,
wor-
and it's
it
obviously,
worked
yeah,
out beautifully.
yeah. You have your like I said, you have your foundation on both sides of the ball, and they're both
Oh,
have only been in
absolutely.
the league for 2 years, and you've got,
Yeah.
like you said, 2 division titles, 2 playoff wins. So,
And
uh,
another dude that
oof.
they're really having as much as we wondered about him in college sometimes. Henry Toa, he gets a lot of
Hmm.
tackles in the NFL.
He had it. I wasn't, necessarily a huge defender, I'd say, of him in college. I did think he played
Yeah,
better than some people think, but he'd make these mistakes sometimes where he'd be on
yeah.
the he'd make the wrong read, or he'd try to, he'd do something that wasn't his
Mainly, he
job.
was too slow for
Yeah, yeah, that's
what he
what.
was
But
doing
yeah,
at times. But
he has been
but
very
he's
impressive in
quality.
the
He's quality in the league, and
yeah
that's all that really matters.
yeah.
Maybe he was in the wrong spots. Maybe we had him in the wrong spots. Who knows? But
But
that's
I'll
a
tell you what,
dude.
he is used to. Him and Will Anderson were the two that were flagged for questionable calls
Yeah,
in that game
for sure.
Saturday. So
For sure. Yeah.
You're used to that if you're a Bama guy. As much
Yeah.
as people want to say that Bama gets all the calls, it's been the other
Absolutely.
way, and it doesn't change in the pros apparently.
No. Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, the Sports Center is on this Ravens highlight again now. Ugh. Ravens outgained them by almost 200 yards and still didn't win.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Turnovers, man. Turnovers a killer.
Turnovers kill you every time. I mean, Josh Allen had what 127 yards passed, I believe. Which
Yeah.
is just
Mm.
no touchdown passes either. He was just 16 and
Mm.
22. Nothing fancy, but
Right
yeah,
in the hands, Mark. Right in the hands.
golly,
That's tough. That's gonna, yeah.
terrible.
A lot of
Think about that.
fans getting really drunk in Baltimore right now.
Oh, absolutely. Tough way to
Uh,
go.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a
Oh,
long off season.
yeah.
But yeah, so Chiefs, Bills. Bills are the only team to beat the Chiefs at full strength this year. Should be another great showdown, and I can't wait to see
Think
what
so.
the refs do to send Kansas City to another Super Bowl.
Yeah, you got a feeling. It's Buffalo versus everybody on Sunday, as it always is at Arrowhead. So we'll see. I mean, they're gonna
Yeah,
have to play a phenomenal game, and then some because everything's against them. Um, so we'll see how it plays out.
yeah. It's. I mean, obviously the Bills have the will and the toughness for it, but we'll see. The Chiefs are in playoff mode. Travis Kelsey. He's
Had
playoff
a couple
Kelsey
of touchdowns.
again.
Had a couple
Yeah. Um.
touchdowns yesterday, and they always find a way. So we'll see if
Yeah.
the Bills can pull it out somehow. But
And I will say this: I know I'm not a pro athlete, and he is. Conversation for best tight end of all time. Probably will be by the time he's said and done.
yeah,
But when I watch that man make turns and jukes and all, I'm amazed that he pulls them off because he looks so slow now.
he does look so slow.
He had one yesterday where he did one of those. He caught it going to his left. Planted his foot and made that like
Yeah,
swivel around spin move, and it was so slow developing. I don't know how 5 defenders didn't get there by the time.
yeah, it's
It's
amazing. 'Cause,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's just like what in the world? Yeah,
Yeah, but so that's your AFC title game. 1 and 2 seed over in the East. There will not be the 1 and 2 seed. The 2 seed got there. That was an early game today.
yeah,
Philly over the Rams and a good one. Rams put up a
no,
fight in
yeah,
the snow
they
in
did.
Philly. I
It was
think
a good game.
they might have out. Actually, I don't know if they outgained the Eagles with all the running yards.
No,
The Eagles ran for like what 285 today.
yeah, I mean, and Saquon Barkley had his way with the Rams throughout the year. He had two
Hmm.
200-yard games, one in the regular season, one today. Maybe he does get the MVP. Who knows? But anyway,
It is clear that Aaron Donald is no longer in the middle of that line.
yeah. But he had that big long touchdown run, and then the Rams came right back down, scored again, cut it to 6, and got the ball back at the end. Had opportunity. Ah,
Yeah, I
got
mean
down to what
we're
about inside the 20, I believe. And
yeah,
then,
we're driving. Took a
but
bad sack. Not
yeah,
Stafford's fault at all. His lineman just
um,
completely turned the wrong way and
yeah,
gave the rusher a free
and then
shot at Stafford.
yeah, and then the fourth down pass. I was like, what? I don't know what that was. Like he just threw it
Oh
out of
yeah, that was
bounds.
a rare
Um,
weird miss from Stafford. It wasn't just like
yeah,
he barely missed a guy. He just missed
no,
him
it was terrible.
completely.
I was like, wow.
I don't know if
So
he
that ended
slipped
it.
or yeah.
And that was annoying because I had because at that time before when Saquon scored the touchdown, I had the Eagles at -6.5. So I was like, cool. And then the Rams scored, and I was like, well, shit. At this point, I want the Rams to go ahead and win the game if I'm not going to hit my
Yeah, right.
parlay. And of course,
uh,
no. So
yeah.
Eagles got me twice. I wanted them to lose, and then on top of that, they don't cover it.
Then
So
they cost you money too. Yeah.
please,
So
yeah. Thanks,
yeah,
Philly.
and they'll be facing, and you a Cowboys fan,
Hmm.
worst nightmare, another NFC East
Yeah.
team,
we-
the Commanders of Washington, who went in
we-
Detroit and knocked off the 1 seed and did it fairly convincingly. It wasn't a true
Yeah,
blowout, but they had their way with them, man. Detroit, I know their
they did.
defense is just a mash
They're
unit. They're
missing so
missing
many,
so many players right now,
but
and
they But man, what's his name chose the worst week ever to have a terrible game. He was horrible yesterday.
Oh, Jared Goff.
Jared Goff was horrible
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, he was bad. Jared Goff yesterday, unfortunately for Detroit and their fans, and a great season, best in franchise history,
Phenomenal
comes to a
season.
sad end for them. Don't even get the playoff win.
Yeah,
Uh, and Jaden Daniels, a great story continues.
man, that's
Just that offense is just humming along, and he makes plays, and
Cliff.
yeah,
If any, he may not be a great head coach, but Cliff Kingsbury is definitely a great OC because
hell of OC, yeah.
he had. I mean, as far as much talk as Ben Johnson gets as a great offensive, he got out schemed yesterday. I mean, Kingsbury was amazing yesterday. He had everything dialed up. I mean, Jaden Daniels, another man. For that man has ice water in his veins. Man, you talking about a rookie?
Hmm.
2 weeks in a row on the road, and you wouldn't know it.
No, yeah, you would not know it at all.
Yeah,
He,
it
yeah,
was a
keeps his
great.
composure.
It
Yeah.
does, and it was a great environment. I mean, Detroit was rocking
Hmm.
last night.
Oh yeah, they were living. I mean, and
The first half
outside
was, I
of
mean,
Jared
as a
Goff,
shootout. That first half, though, I mean, they
oh
basically were
yeah,
at the over by halftime. uh, I
and
mean,
our guy Jameer Gibbs had another outstanding
huge
game.
game.
He is
Yeah.
again, and I say it every time we talk about it in
See,
here, but
yeah,
every time I
yeah.
watch it, Bill
Like what?
O'Brien, we
Bill?
need to figure
Oh,
out if Alabama fans can somehow have a class action suit against Bill O'Brien
yeah.
for coaching malpractice.
Because I feel like fans could have came up with some better options.
Oh man, yeah. But
Could have
Jameer
been in
Gibbs
it.
continues to be a stud. Detroit's got plenty of
Yeah.
weapons on offense. They just need to stay healthy on defense and get a
Yeah,
couple more
because you would
players
have to
in.
think, some of those. But on that other side, we Alabama guy we don't talk about a lot. He's not necessarily the best one, but Brian Robinson had a hell of a game yesterday. B
Oh, he
Rob
did,
had a
yeah,
great
yeah,
game,
yeah.
2 touchdowns there.
He
You
he
know,
is yeah an underappreciated, underrated
he
running
really
back in
is.
the
He doesn't
league.
get a
He's
lot
a
of hype.
hmm,
He's a solid guy. Remember when he first came in the league, he got shot. He overcame that, and
mm-hmm.
so I mean, he's doing well for
He's
himself in Washington.
yeah, and he's
I'd
might
say
not necessarily be like a home run guy. He might not
no,
have like a 200-yard game, but man,
he's a
he is a
solid guy.
tough runner.
He
Yeah, he's
runs
a
tough. Yeah, he runs
yeah, he's
hard.
going to hit you. He's going to get you those tough yards that are
Yeah,
so important in football games, and he
yeah,
was doing that yesterday for them.
for sure.
And then of course, like we said, Jaden Daniels is making plays.
And
Scary
just to
Terry
I
McLaughlin
mean,
was,
yeah,
yeah.
he had a great touchdown pass there.
Hmm.
You gotta think. I mean, really, that's really their only really good receiver. I mean, as far as like name wise, I mean,
Curtis
imagine they
Samuel,
could
I'll
have.
tell you what, he's stepped up these two games.
Yeah,
Uh, he is Curtis Samuel has stepped up and made some plays these past two games in the playoffs.
but man, I mean,
Um,
for that franchise, I mean, year one couldn't have gone any better than what it has. I mean, for the new front office there, you draft you made the right choice with your quarterback of the future. Your generational. I mean, so often teams don't hit their um, quarterback as far as who they want to be the franchise guy. Clearly, they hit the nail on the head there. I mean, new coach, new front office, and man, you're in the NFC Championship game. It doesn't get any better. First, their first one since '91, and um, funny enough that they beat the Lions in that NFC Championship game the last time they won the NFC
hmm,
back in
crazy.
'91. Yeah,
The
I
Mark Rippon
remember.
year.
Yeah, that was Mark
Hmm.
Rippon year. So absolutely housed them like 41-10.
That Mark Rippon team was low
They
key,
were
like,
nasty. They
yeah,
were
they were. Speaking of underappreciated guy, that offense, that team, the whole team in general, but that offense was nasty.
yeah, they had
Him would
Mark
that have been
Rippon.
what? Or yeah, Mark Rippon, Ernest Biner, would he
Mark
have been the running back
Arnett,
then?
I think he would have been Art Monk, a wide receiver. I
Mm-hmm.
think can't think of the other guy. I think it was Gary Clark. Yeah, they had some talent there. Um, but yeah, they were studs that year for sure. But Yeah, but that's a no, no. My Cowboys said is the longest team did not make the NFC Championship game. Uh,
Oh, really?
95 now.
No.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah. Washington was the one was the one behind us, and now a couple years behind us, and now yeah. So we're the
Uh,
not longest running, and
wait, in like the league?
well, as far as the NFC,
Wait, has Detroit? Oh, Detroit made it last year, didn't they? Yeah, I forgot
yeah,
that.
to make the NFC Championship game,
Yeah,
we're the we're the
that's crazy.
farthest out of
Shit.
anybody. Yeah,
Huh.
since 90
Uh,
95 season. So
it's insane.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So there's your matchups: Eagles and Commanders in the NFC, Chiefs and Bills in the AFC. You got to figure the Eagles would be
yeah,
big favorites
yeah. But, I mean, they all
over
know.
and
I mean, they all know.
yeah,
I mean, but the thing is, you know each other. I mean, this will be their third time to play each other this
yeah,
year. So, I mean, there'll be no surprises really. I mean, it's just a matter of
yeah.
who
It's tough.
play.
Looking at they're posting stats on the SVP Sports Center right now. Philly is actually the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now.
Plus
Plus
175.
175. Yeah.
Wow.
Quick look at, let's see, the lines for next week. KC favored by 1, Eagles favored by 5.
Hmm.
I'd say
That's
that's about right.
probably
Yeah,
about right.
it feels about right. Yeah.
And then
I
we
don't
just saw
know.
the and we just saw the
I th-
Eagles.
mhm.
What the Chiefs was that 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did. Yeah,
we
we
just
did.
saw that.
So
And
yeah,
down to the last play.
yeah, here we'll all the storylines are in play. The Chiefs looking for the three-peat, the Bills looking for their first Super Bowl,
Ever.
Eagles looking for a Super Bowl win in the Jalen year. After
Yeah,
the
coming
collapses
so
of
close.
the post, after that
Yeah.
Nick Foles
After.
run.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Commanders, the same thing. First Super Bowl would be first Super
Since
Bowl in what, 30
since nine.
years?
Yeah, since 91.
Yeah, since that Mark Rippon team, the rookie
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, it's
mean,
all in play there. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and you gotta think. Their coach Dan Quinn, the man who
Oh yeah.
who choked in the Super Bowl, lost a 28-3 lead. Getting his second chance as a head coach in the league there, and year one phenomenal. I mean, can't ask for much more. I mean, whether they win or lose, of course, this season's a win for the Commanders. I mean, they've exceeded expectations and then some. But on the other side, of course, the Chiefs 9-0 at home this season, only giving up 18 points a game. I mean, it's gonna be a yeah. Well, like we said, it's gonna be tough for Buffalo. I mean, everything's against them. In Kansas City by itself,
Hmm.
the questionable calls that Kansas City always seems to get, and you're gonna have to play a perfect game and then some to beat them at home.
Yeah, and they're gonna need to open the offense up a lot more. I know
Oh
they'll.
yeah,
I imagine part of the strategy. I haven't seen anything post game from the Bills yet. I imagine part of the strategy was controlling the ball, keeping it out of Lamar's hands, and
yeah,
I imagine it'll be kind of similar idea next week. Keep the ball to Mahomes' hands and all that, but you're going to have to score points. You're going to have to take
yeah.
shots.
Can't
Um,
turn the ball over. They did
yeah,
a good job of
exactly.
that. They didn't turn the ball over today, but we know Josh at
Hmm.
times has had some bad picks. I mean, we know that they won pretty convincingly in the regular
Yeah.
season against the Chiefs, but playoffs a whole different monster. So we'll see how it goes.
And I will say the one other thing too with that is they really didn't the adjustments. Yeah, they didn't really adjust at halftime. They just kind of kept doing the same thing, and the Ravens made their adjustments on defense. And
Oh
like I
yeah,
said, they shut them down that second half. Outside of
they
the
did.
one,
They
the
did.
what the they got 2 field goals. Yeah,
Yeah,
and one of them the Ravens held them, and it was after that Andrews fumble they were able to go down and make it an 8-point game as opposed to a 5-point game. But
yeah,
uh, they're gonna have to, yeah, again, they're gonna have to do better than that next week because they can't, even if
absolutely.
it's the same thing where they go in with a 2-score lead in the halftime,
That's
they're gonna have to
yeah,
adjust and get better. You got to kind of get better
Yeah, you
against
got to
Kansas
get
City.
better to
Yeah.
be the yeah. No matter how good your first half was, that second half is gonna have to be even
Hmm.
better because it's gonna come down to
Yeah.
who
Uh,
scores in the fourth quarter,
but this will
as
be
it is.
their fourth time meeting in the playoffs. Of course, KC
Yeah,
has won the
every
previous
while.
three, and just another stat just seen here on the
Yeah.
TV. In the regular season, however, the Bills and Josh Allen own a 4-1
Dominate them.
advantage. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
so it just tells you playoffs is a whole different monster.
But yeah, so it should be another a fun conference championship weekend next week.
Yeah.
You know, I'll join you in the proverbial golf course. The fans another disappointing year, and just hoping that we're not wasting one of the greatest players in this
Oh,
generation, and
yeah,
even more heartbreaking with Derrick Henry. I know he's got a window too, and
yeah.
man, uh, hey, the Ravens,
I
you
mean,
go, you rebuild the line, shore up the line. Then
and
they
it's
got some
tough though
major
because we
guys.
can
Yeah.
always sell, we can run it back, but man, that whole year things
Hmm.
change.
Yeah, you
It's
never
never
know.
quite the
Yeah, yeah,
same. May never
and
quite be the same,
yeah, maybe
unfortunately.
maybe the Bengals figure their shit out and they have dominating
Yeah,
years they could. Maybe the Steelers, make that
yeah.
jump
So,
back from being just above average to being really good
right.
again. Maybe,
Yeah. Who
never mind. I
knows?
was about to say maybe the Browns figure it out, but we know that's not
Nah,
going to happen.
this is Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't figure shit out.
Yeah.
Cleveland doesn't figure out shit.
Mhm. But yeah, so that's all I got in the NFL. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, as far
Uh,
as the games, no. I mean,
yeah.
we've covered that. I mean, I guess my biggest concern, other than seeing the rate, seeing the excuse me, the Eagles and Commanders in the NFC Championship game,
Mhm.
is our coaching search.
That's true. Yeah, of course. In classic fashion, right after we finished recording last week, they
Mhm.
nixed. Mike McCarthy no longer coach of the
No,
Cowboys
and it
here.
sounds
So
like
you
it's
guys are.
more Mike's choice because if I read and hear him right, I guess Jerry wants to push Jason Witten in some capacity, and I don't think Mike was part of it. Very excited
Hmm.
with that possibility, so he kind of didn't sign the contract. More or less, the contract ran out more than he got fired. I'd say, they
Yeah.
just didn't re-sign him. But that was tough because the week before the Bears had come to ask, hey, can we talk to Mike? And they're like, no. So obviously they thought, you know, Jerry's famous for those last second things. So it's kind of weird that they actually didn't pull it through. And now who knows what we're doing? Of course, I don't. The big thing last week was our first prime. I don't see that happening at
I
all.
don't. Yeah, I was wondering about your feelings on that because I think we've talked
No.
about before, and he's doing some great things there at Colorado and did some good things at Jackson State. I just don't know if what he does translates to the pro game.
And then also, I mean, and do you want to work with Jerry every week?
That's true. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the other thing too, I guess our two interviews last week were Robert Sala. You're like,
Oh, Jesus.
and then we interviewed Kellen Moore. I'm like, dude, we just fired him
Hmm.
as the OC a couple years ago. But yeah, we want to bring him in as the head coach. Like,
Yeah,
what?
that's some interesting.
So
Yeah,
I've been
that'll
on
be an.
two interviews there. Hopefully we'll have more interviews this coming up week. But who knows? It's not looking good right now. We got a lot to figure out, especially with what we see in
Mhm.
the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you like you said, yeah, at least the Giants are there. You know that you're probably in a better spot than them. But
Right.
uh yeah. So let's
Yeah.
move on to, I don't think we've had any other
No.
news and coaching searches, right? Nothing
I think
here that
everybody
I'm
was kind of waiting for the. It seems like everybody's
yeah,
kind of waiting for the Lions
playoffs,
coaches. I'm
yeah.
sure they'll go. Lions coaches will go fast this week.
Yeah, I did see
Your
the
offensive
Bears
coordinator might
interviewed
go fast.
yeah, for sure. I saw the Bears interviewed Eddie George actually.
Didn't see that. That's
He's been
interesting.
He has. Yeah, he's been coach at Tennessee Tech for I think the past 4 or so years. Got them into the FCS playoffs this year. So that is interesting right there. But yeah, I think that'd do it
Yeah,
for NFL talk for this week. Let's move to let's go Bama hoops. Mixed bag week for the Tide.
for sure.
Tough loss on Tuesday, a home loss to Ole Miss, a bad loss. Let's put it this way.
Yeah,
Even they came out. Nate Oates had some words for the team afterwards.
that's
Uh,
disgusting.
yeah, disgusting. He called the lack of effort disgusting. And then didn't just put he wasn't throwing his guys under the bus. He even he blamed himself in that speech too. But it was a disgusting. Yeah, you can't lose. I mean, Ole Miss is a good team, but if you're
Can't lose a
wanting to be a
Coleman like
national
that.
title contender and you're at home, yeah, you're at home. You can't lose that game, especially in the way they
No,
did.
in fashion. I mean, there was no doubt.
Yeah, didn't
And the
shoot
crazy
well at all. Yeah.
didn't shoot well, didn't rebound well. I mean, their big guy had 21 and 19. We had 22 turnovers, I believe. It was just ugly from the start.
Hmm.
It's one of them games you kind of throw away the tape.
Yeah.
I said that you don't learn anything from it. Obviously, this isn't us, and we showed
Hmm.
up, yesterday.
Yeah.
Completely different
Uh,
team.
I was
Back
about to
to what
say
we
now
expected.
on the other side of the coin, went into a house of horrors for us, Rupp Arena,
Yeah,
and really, really won a great game. That was a back and forth. That was some exciting basketball to watch.
we're great, great basketball.
Great game from Mark Sears and Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson really at 25 led the team 25 and
About our first
11.
half.
Yeah. Um, so absolutely great way to rebound too, and that's what you like to see. It's college basketball. You're not going to go undefeated. It's
Yeah,
very rare. I mean, we've seen what Gonzaga almost did it a couple years ago. I guess they've been the closest
yeah.
lately, and Kentucky, what 10 years ago or so
Kentucky.
now.
Yeah. That's
But
crazy. That feel old. That's been that long. That
I know,
Kentucky went
right?
undefeated next season. Jeez.
But we knew coming in. We talked about how this SEC schedule is going to be a gauntlet.
I don't. Yeah.
It's going to be
You see
tough,
it every.
and
You see it every game. I mean,
hmm
hell, Tennessee just lost to Vanderbilt yesterday.
hmm
You know, Auburn had everything. Georgia gave them everything they wanted.
yeah. Still
I
pulling it
mean,
out despite no Braum. So good win for the Tigers. Still there.
yeah.
But yeah, it gets a little bit easier for Bama this week. 2 home games. Vanderbilt comes into town on what's that Tuesday. And then next Saturday, LSU comes to Coleman.
So it
Uh,
should be 2 wins this week, I would think. I mean,
Absolutely
LSU.
should be. You mentioned Vanderbilt, good win against Tennessee Saturday, but you got to beat them. And then LSU's terrible start to conference play for them. They're 1-4. Um, so yeah,
They
that should be two
should be
wins
2 wins this week for sure.
before going on the road to Starkville next week. Um,
Starkville stuff. I mean, they just beat
it
Ole
is.
Miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah. But
But
this week
yeah.
you would think it should get some good wins. And continue on the stretch. But man, I was like happy with yesterday. We had a great start and got down, fought back, took the lead, and then we were, just closed strong in
Hmm.
Lexington. I mean, that's a place we faltered at many a time.
Hmm.
Where we'd be in the game and all of a sudden they go on a 10-0 run, and all of a sudden looking up, shit, we're down 18.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things where it would go from all right to a little nervous to just what the fuck happened real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Um,
But a great win. I mean, first time since '02 that we won in Lexington. So
and
kind of
which
just
was
show.
crazy to me because I saw that was it the first time we beat them as a ranked team or a top 10 team since '02? Because didn't we beat them in Rupp when Jamario Davison had that crazy like 30-point game, or was that in Coleman?
I was in Coleman.
It was in Coleman. Okay, so
I
I'm just
believe.
remembering wrong.
Um,
Because I saw that stat too, and I was like, "Oh yeah, the Jamario game." I was like, "Wait a minute, no, that wouldn't have been
that's
'02."
yeah.
Uh,
That was because '02
uh,
was a great ass team that faltered out in the second round of the tournament.
yeah, uh,
They had when they had Crash
Irwin
and
Dudley. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, you're talking
Crash.
about.
Uh,
Yeah.
the O2 team was Crash, and then they had Grizzard, and
Yeah.
then they
Irwin
walked to like Penn
Dudley,
State
Ron
and then fucked
Grizzard.
up too.
Would have been year before Kennedy Winston. It would have been,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would have been our senior year of
Gerald
high school.
Wallace, right? I think it would have been Gerald Wallace's year.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, of course, elsewhere around college basketball, we're not the only ones that, Creighton ended UConn's 28 game home winning streak earlier
crazy.
this week. West Virginia upset number 2 Iowa State.
Big win for them.
Yeah, big win for West Virginia. Just that kind of part of the year conference play, getting in the full swing
Yeah,
now. Starting to see some shifting in teams that are. We know where teams are kind of what direction they're trending now.
right. Yeah,
So like we said, it wasn't a good, bad loss to start the week for Alabama. Great rebound to go in the Rupp and beat a really good, hot Kentucky team too. A Kentucky team
exactly.
that's been
Yeah.
playing really well.
They
So, like we
they've
said,
been
we
playing great
mentioned,
great ball.
hmm
So
and they will, of course, we actually play them twice this year, so we will see them again at the end
at
of
the end of February, I believe.
February. Yeah.
Um,
Uh, I'm trying to see what else is going on in the SEC this week. If I can get those schedules up here. Um, let's see what else happened. TCU beat Baylor today too. It was another kind of upset, although Baylor's only ranked 25th, but TCU's never been a
so
true power. Let's see SEC schedule this week. You got State goes to Knoxville to play Tennessee. That could be a fun one there. You got. Let's see what else is happening this week. If this thing agrees with me, Florida. Oh, here we go. Wednesday's a big one. Florida visits South Carolina. A&M goes to Ole Miss, and then Georgia goes to Arkansas. Arkansas, not a
Arkansas
great start
struggling.
to. Yeah, not a great winless in SEC play so far under Coach Cal in their first year.
Yeah.
Um,
And usually his first,
mhm,
he usually comes right in and has immediate success. So I don't know.
mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
know.
little
Maybe just
strange.
I don't know if the tank of the talent pool was a lot less than maybe we thought
Hmm.
in Fayetteville, or what's going on. But 0-5, 11-7.
Hmm.
Georgia, I mean, they're okay. I mean, well ahead of what people thought there.
Hmm.
They had two losses this past week. Got blasted by Tennessee. Bounced back. Got a good game against Auburn there, but we'll see
Hmm.
what they do at
And yeah, they'll go into Gainesville next Saturday.
you know,
Um, Tennessee and Auburn, big one in the plains on the plains next Saturday as well. That'll be kind of the highlight of
that's, yeah, for
that
sure.
day. Uh, let's see what else college basketball. I was wanting to give some love to something over on the women's side of games, and I completely lost it and didn't do notes this week. Dang
I
me.
know Vandy beat Tennessee, so Vandy, I know Vandy beat Tennessee, so that I mean they got the sweep on them on the over the weekend, beating my men and women's side.
Oh man, look at that. And that's definitely a rare one for the
Yeah,
Commodores on the women's side of thing. Um,
absolutely.
the Tide women have had a decent start to the year too, ranked.
Yeah.
No, they
The thing.
lost. What they lose 2 games this week, or just the one?
No, we just won this week. Midweek against,
South
of
Carolina,
course,
yeah,
South
tough one, yeah.
Carolina. It was tough. I mean, they because I was watching it just because I want to see because we're an okay team, but we're not. I just want to see how do when we play the big teams,
Mm-hmm.
how do we compare? I mean, we had
Yeah,
them down to 5 with like middle of the fourth, and they went on like 11-0 run and ran
mm-hmm.
us out the building at the end. But so it
Yeah,
ended up
it's
being
tough.
18.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it's just
17-3 record for the girls. 4-2
but
conference play.
when
Fortunately,
we
like you
lose
said,
is
those
bad.
two losses are
Yeah, 18 to
played
40.
at Texas. Yeah, 44-point loss at Texas a couple weeks ago. Number 5 Texas. So they
Like
get
we beat
actually.
all the teams we're supposed to, but
Mhm.
can't. But we don't really match up well with the true powerhouses of women's basketball.
Yeah. So looking like a tournament team, but maybe not much of a
Yeah,
threat to go far. But who
right.
knows? Hey, things can
Things can
bounce your
happen.
way. They are off again until next Saturday,
Yeah,
Sunday, and they play
I think
Vanderbilt
a week. Yeah.
at home, and then week after that, on the 30th, they'll actually go to Kentucky, a ranked Kentucky women's team.
But overall, I mean, the women are much better than what they have been. I mean, they're going to
Mhm,
tournaments every year now, which have which wasn't the case for a while.
mhm.
So I mean, they blew out Arkansas today. So it's just a matter of getting up to that, figuring out how to get to that next level where you're competing on a level with South Carolina's, the
Mhm.
Texas, the LSU's of the world. Honestly, I think we might be able to catch if we could catch Tennessee this year. That'd be great.
Yeah.
With the rivalry and just that's a though they're not the balls of old, they're still a big name. So maybe we can catch them.
Hmm.
We just not on the level of the LSU's, Texas, and South Carolinas of the world there. So
No,
who
but
is?
hey, yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Who is, and we're making great
we're making
progress.
that.
We've done a lot of great things
Oh,
uh,
absolutely,
with the women's program in the last few years, and
absolutely.
uh, it should be noted, for all the excitement the men deservedly get, the women's program has done an
Much
amazing
improved.
job of much
Yeah,
improved from where they were because they were pretty bad for a long time there, and all
yeah.
credit to
And they were
Christy
great. They
Curry.
were great in
Yeah,
the '90s. Yeah, and then
yeah, Final Four
really,
appearance in '94, and then just
yeah,
kind of fell
fell off.
off.
When we were
Um,
in school, they were terrible. Like,
yeah, and Christy Curry, she's been there since 2013 when she took it over. It was rough. It took her what 9
yeah,
seasons to get to the NCAA tournament, but now they've made it 3 of the past 4 seasons.
yeah. One games
They've
too.
had
We won again
yeah,
maybe before say last year, a couple years ago we won.
hmm
Mm,
yeah, and
last year we
they're and
trending
they're
in
winning
Texas.
games consistently.
uh,
Winning what's that? One, two,
20.
three, four, five. This will be 6 straight winning seasons now. She's only had 3 losing seasons in her tenure here, and she's
Yes,
made
yeah.
a postseason in all but four. So again, all credit
About
to
as
that.
good,
Hmm.
about as good as you can expect, and then some. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, it's hard to get a lot of support for the women's game unless they're playing like a South Carolina,
Hmm.
big game like that. I mean, it was a great crowd. Coleman was rocking on
Yeah,
that night.
had the guys there, had some of the football players there.
So it was a good. I mean, it was a good atmosphere. They
Hmm.
put up a good effort, just a little too much talent on the South Carolina side. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
showing signs. I mean, they're consistently going to a tournament. You can't knock them. I mean, they're on that second level of the SEC, and we'll see if they ever break through to that top level or not. But I mean, that
Hmm.
top level is the elite of the elite. So who
Exactly.
knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they can, make a breakthrough, win a couple games, make their first Sweet 16 since '98. It would be.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, let's move. Unless you have anything else on the college game, let's
No.
move. No.
I'm good.
Let's move to the NBA real quick. Let's. All right. Give me a couple things. Give me anything of note, any storylines, or just anything of note from the first half of the season, or not. About first, not really half, but first part of the season up until now. Uh, Actually, I guess we are about the halfway point, really. Uh,
Almost. We're getting there.
yeah, yeah. Look, just saw the
I
Thunder
think
record. They
it's
played
just.
42 games, but
I
yeah. Well,
think
give me
it's just.
something, a story of that, and then give me your assessment of your Mavericks first half so far. Give me those two
I
things.
think the biggest storyline, and I mean, they're not the sexiest names, of course, but just what Cleveland and OKC have done. I mean, they're on a whole different level than the rest of the league. Of course, Cleveland won the first matchup between the two, and OKC got a big win. This I think on what Tuesday or Wednesday night, blasted blasted the Cavs in OKC, but I mean they're just head and shoulders above everybody else in the league right now. I mean it's not going to get the biggest storylines, but I mean that those are two teams. I mean you have to take serious. I mean as true contenders, because I mean
Hmm.
they're just playing good ball. Both teams. The other I guess the other thing storyline of course is just sounds like maybe resolving a little bit, but just kind of how the Jimmy Butler situation ends up.
Hmm.
you know, you think it has to come to end at some point. It's just too much got said for everything to be cool in today's world. A lot of pride. So we'll see how that goes. Um,
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out myself. You got to think. I don't. Yeah, the Heat right now, they're not really threatening
no, they're
to
not.
contend in any way. They're in the eighth spot in the East right now, but even with Heat culture and all that, playoff Heat there is, I don't. That's not a team that you really worry about beating Cleveland or Boston or New York.
No,
Even
especially when the guy that's the reason that really puts the team on the thing is the guy that's in question right now. I mean, of
exactly, yeah.
course, Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, you really a whole different monster. But I don't know if he with what's happened this year, even if he's still in Miami, I don't, something tells me playoff Jimmy may not appear
Yeah, and then it seems like an opportune time to before this happened. Even if
before
you
it gets
mend
ugly.
fences right now, yeah, before it gets ugly, or if you mend fences now before he just demands another trade in the off season, maybe you get
Right,
less. Then
right,
right now
yeah,
you might be able to get a decent haul from a contender, or a
right.
fringe
Someone feels
contender
like that'd be the different.
that
Yeah, that
yeah
would put
that
him over
Jimmy
the
Butler would
top.
be the missing piece exactly, and
Right.
maybe you could get a young player or two, or a role
Mm.
player, or some picks to really build on what you, because they have a solid foundation. It's Miami,
Yeah,
they're always going to have a solid foundation in place there.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, he
you know,
talked about plenty. Bolster is one of the
mhm.
best coaches in the league. His consistency.
Yeah, Pat
He's
Riley,
been
what
in.
he does as president there is, heat culture is not a just a
No, it's
buzzword. It's a real
the
thing.
real thing.
Yeah, so uh,
One of the most consistent of the last decade for sure, if not more,
mhm.
if not longer.
No,
Um,
yeah. But how about your Mavericks right now? Of course,
you
they're
know the
sitting in seventh place, 23-19.
you know
You
it's just
know,
about getting healthy. I mean, Luca's been
yeah,
out for a long time. I mean, Kyrie came back Saturday. I mean, we beat the Thunder. I know SGA didn't play, but I mean that was a good win for us. Regardless, but I mean it's just a matter of. I mean, when Luca and Kyrie were out there, I mean we were rolling. I mean we were up to the number 2 spot for a while, and
hmm
then, Luca got hurt, Kyrie got hurt, and we kind of have a bunch of role guys that are good when those two are out there. But I mean you can't consistently expect. And I don't. I'm not, I mean, it's kind of what you expect it to be when both those guys are out. I don't think you just have to get healthy more or less. I mean, if we're
hmm
healthy, the role guys will, have their spots, but without those two superstars there, we're kind of we'll be cooked if they're not healthy, for the playoffs.
yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, yeah. You guys, what looks like 3-7 your last 10. So yeah, really missing Luca and the full squad there, as it were.
Right,
But like I said, still in the seventh spot.
right. I
Uh,
mean,
in decent playoff shape.
yeah.
You
I
just
mean,
gotta
if
basically
everybody's
hold
healthy.
course until they get back, and
Exactly.
you can make a run. Um,
Exactly.
but
I
yeah,
think the other big thing is, what's the name may not just, he's kind of, I mean, it look good, great on paper. I mean, he does, excuse me, score some. But I think we were, um, I can't think of his name right now. Okay, good God. Um,
on y'all's team. Uh,
yeah.
I don't know what your. Uh,
Let me get to it here. Brr, 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 brr. Clay Thompson. I mean,
Oh,
he's
Clay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it seemed like a great addition. I mean, he's done some okay stuff, averaged about 13 points. Maybe not as dynamic as we would have hoped, but we
Hmm.
kind of know he's kind of the end of his career. He'll put up
Hmm.
points every now and again, but I think if we're healthy, I think that'll allow him to, be, kind of just be the guy in the corner to throw up some clutch threes. So it'll just be a matter of being healthy, come playoff time. Cause we're playing good ball for a little bit, before
Hmm.
both guys went out. But it's just a matter of getting healthy. And the West, it's kind of wide open. I mean, outside of OKC, I mean, everybody's kind of
Hmm.
they're kind of there. I mean, we know Denver will be looking for revenge this year. After their quick exit last year, when everybody thought they were going to be the represent the West. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, it's just about getting healthy.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess the other impressive thing is that the Rockets. I mean, who would have ever thought they'd be in second
Yeah,
right now? 28-13 on
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
year.
and they're playing a little bit with house money right now because they could make a move. They have a lot of assets they can move, or they could just kind of stand pat, see how this year goes,
Yeah,
and then make
I
a
don't.
plan in the offseason. Yeah,
Yeah,
I tend to would say do the latter because that's kind of what OKC did. They kind of you that
they
let
pat.
that young team gel and
Yeah,
get
get better.
better. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
I mean, there's no pressure. I mean, they make the playoffs, win a series, maybe, or who knows. Even they don't. I mean, they got a good coach there. Got a lot of young guys, for the most part. And it's not good. I mean, they got some older guys there that can help out. I mean, Jeff Green's on the team, so kind of a leadership guy. But this is a team that I wouldn't touch just because. I mean, sometimes bringing in somebody when you have a lot of young talent messes up the chemistry.
mhm.
And I I would say, like you said, they're playing with house money. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it gets to the point sometimes. Yeah, like just see what you got, and if you want to make a move at the draft time or in the off season,
Yeah,
then see how this year goes. You never know
yeah,
with these young teams. Sometimes you catch
absolutely.
lightning. But yeah, I agree with you. On the big story so far, obviously OKC, Cleveland. I think the other one is kind of the changing of the guard, as it were. We're kind of seeing the end of that Steph, LeBron, KD
Yeah,
era. SGA is coming on. You got guys like Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland, Jason Tatum in the Celtics.
yeah. The next,
Yeah, that kind of next wave of superstars there. The young Rockets, the Grizzlies are playing great. Particularly when
yeah.
Ja's healthy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's gonna be a weird transition because we're talking. Yeah, these guys are stars, but when we're talking about a bunch of guys that go down as all-time
Yeah,
greats.
generational. Yeah, so there's going to be that kind of which not every generation has those. We've kind of been
No,
lucky in the
we've
NBA
had
really to go from in our lifetime we go from
the last,
Magic
yeah,
Bird
last,
to the Jordan era to the
yeah,
Shaq Kobe era to the kind of that
Le-
in between the AI and Kobe,
LeBron,
yeah, and then yeah, the young LeBron era,
yeah,
Dwayne Wade and all
Steph,
that. Those guys, Dirk,
yeah.
and then the
I mean,
full
we've
LeBron, the
had,
Heat, yeah, and then
yeah,
now
I mean,
Steph
we've
and
had a
KD, yeah.
plethora. The last 20 years, we've seen a lot of all-time greats,
Yeah.
and we do. And I don't think people even a lot of folks. I don't even think take time to just and to have enjoyed it because we're always comparing so and so to Jordan or
Hmm.
they didn't win six. We're always comparing people to the past instead of just enjoying the moment.
Hmm.
We've had a lot of great all-time greats in the last 20 years. That yeah, I mean it's been phenomenal. I mean you got to think of all the people we've had. So but yeah, I mean, we got a lot of young talent there. I mean, the NBA, I think, is in good hands. Yeah, but definitely a changing of the guard. And then, the other thing too, it'll be interesting just to see, what happens with some of these other teams that are okay, but not maybe. I mean, like does Milwaukee make any moves? Um, you know, um,
Yeah, that's an interesting one right now, sitting in fourth place in the East.
and
Um,
Boston with. I mean, they're in second. And we know how good they are. They can turn into another level in the
mhm,
playoffs. The Knicks. I mean, they're, they've been up and down. I don't
mhm.
know. I thought that trade would have made them more dynamic than what they are. Maybe. um, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah, he's been. I think he's been pretty good there for them. I think
Everybody gelling.
he's. Yeah, it's about them gelling. I think as in really with them, it's Tom Thibodeau just runs those guys into the ground, man. And I, th-
Yeah,
I
he's
think
a
that's it. I think they got to find a way to keep their guys fresh. For I mean, you got guys that are playing 48. They had an overtime game. Was it last week? And they're just playing
Mhm.
so many minutes, man. And they're star guys.
Yeah,
You gotta. It's
and
But
that's
yeah,
his
I think
biggest.
they definitely have won that trade. If we're talking about that cat trade,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They
Minnesota, it is
won the
not
trade.
working out for them.
No,
Uh, yeah,
absolutely, they won that. Yeah, but I guess that's the biggest knock on Tom Thibodeau at every stop he's been at.
hmm
Like he wins, but at what
for
cost are he
sure,
winning?
for sure. Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of yeah. We're kind of in that, especially as we get closer and closer to the deadline here. What teams will like a team like Philadelphia? What do you do?
Yeah.
Sitting right there on the outside, 2.5 games back of the last play-in spot, and their season has just not gone the way they've
No, I
wanted it
mean,
to at all. Paul George
be
has been a
there. I mean,
disappointment there. Embiid can't stay on the court.
yeah, that's
Uh,
that's just crazy. They
yeah.
that was one the man. I really thought if Paul George is healthy and Bede is healthy, that's a
Mhm.
dangerous squad. But yeah,
And is not the case as of right
no,
now. They are struggling. They're currently on what a 6-game losing streak themselves.
yeah,
Uh, Rough. And speaking of that, my Pelicans now they're in a weird
oh,
position too. You just terrible start to the
yeah,
year, the injuries and snake bit, and now all of a sudden Zion's back, Brandon Ingram's close to being back. Jonte Murray's back, just about healthy. We're still missing, like I said, Brandon Ingram. Herb Jones is out for a little while. Still thinking definitely maybe is what they're calling him, but you know there are silver linings. It looks like Missy was a great pick. They really do hit on their draft picks. Trey Murphy getting more playing time this year. He's just again he's improving as he has every year he
mm,
in the league so far.
for sure.
He's really uh, going and they're winning. All of a sudden 6-4 in their last 10. Maybe got a
Yeah,
little
they're
help from the
wrong.
refs beating your Mavericks last
Yeah,
week. Uh,
Goaltend,
they won.
yeah,
Yeah, a little won 3 in a row too.
yeah.
Yeah. Granted, something beating the Bulls and the Jazz isn't all exciting, but they're wins, and now
Hey,
they're in
but
they're
then
in a weird spot where it's like, the way the season began, it's like, do you tank? Do you go try to get a high
you fight.
draft pick? Yeah, and add another piece to that kind of already young roster. But
Hard to
now
say.
it's kind of clear with these last few games when they do have their best guys on the floor, they're a good team
Yeah,
and they win games. It's just,
yeah,
man, can they stay healthy? And I think
right,
it's I
for
think
sure.
all this hubbub about does Zion really care his work ethic? I think that's overblown because when
Yeah,
he does get healthy and he comes back, man, he's vicious. Uh,
yeah, he is. I think that's just a storyline that they've
yeah. Now, if you
rather
want to,
push and
yeah, I think if you want to talk, does the front office need to test the waters? Is now the right time to trade him? That's a different
absolutely,
conversation.
and it
But
might be because I don't think cause just because with his uncertainty of how many games he ever gonna play, you know.
exactly, and it's such a double edged sword because if you trade them somewhere and all of a sudden they have the secret to their training staff
Healthy.
figures it
Yeah.
out and keeps them healthy, then that's a
Yeah, that's
generational
amazing.
talent. And he
Right.
hasn't, been
Because
the,
when he plays, he's great.
yeah, he hasn't been the transcendent player that maybe some people thought he could be when he was coming in the league. He hasn't,
Yeah.
we just talked about, the league needing that next huge star.
Super.
He's a guy that could be on that list.
Yeah.
But we've seen
I think,
flashes. We see
right.
flashes of it.
Last,
And mhm.
I would think that next trend, I think Wimby is going to be that guy. I mean, he's showing all
Yeah,
the signs.
yeah. It's pretty clear Wimby's that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where my Pelicans are in a tough spot right now. Because
Yeah.
what do you do if it doesn't look like there's really anyone out there that wants to give Brandon Ingram a max
No.
extension. So that's trading partners are hard to come by. Plus he's hurt. Um,
That's the
yeah,
main thing. He was hurt.
a guy like CJ McCollum would be another good trade piece, but he's kind of a glue guy and a veteran leader on that squad. So
Right.
if you take him away, does that hurt the team some way?
Yeah. But
And then
basically, I think if you get rid of him, you're pretty much saying, well, season's over.
exactly, yeah, and granted now, and that's the other, again, that's a third side of the coin, if you will. If you look at the standings, man, it's kind of hard to. And they're 11-32 right now. Like I said, they've won 6 of their last 10 games. They've won 3 in a row, so they're making a run. But they're still 11 out of behind Golden State for that last play-in spot. So they would really have to go. So that's
Yeah.
what 43
Was,
games. Yeah, they'd
yeah,
have to lose single digits the rest of the year to really threaten a play-in spot. And
that's tough.
if you do it, that's
That's just,
great. And yeah, if you don't, it's a question of do you play your best, and if you miss the play-in, you get a lottery pick, but it's not as good as it would be if you kind of pack it in for the season. At one point they were
that's
battling Washington for the league's worst record. Uh,
right. So,
yeah, it's just kind of
and the other thing too, though, is, but yeah, I mean, the thing with tanking these days is it's weird. I mean, outside of this year, Cooper Flag. I mean,
Mhm.
is there anybody that you're like, oh my god, is it really worth tanking?
Yeah, exactly. Unless you absolutely can guarantee yourself that first pick. I
And
do
there's
think
and
some
with the
people tend to
NBA,
think
it's so
it's
tricky. Is some, I mean, with the well, with the, of course, you get more ping pong balls,
Mhm.
but even as we've seen many times, the worst team doesn't even get the top pick.
Exactly, yeah. So it's always a risk, and
Yeah, but I would
but yeah,
say, unless it's really out of reach, that are you really trading or looking for the future? Just with where college basketball players are right now, I mean, there's some talented guys for the college game.
hmm
As we know, Mark Sears a hell of a college guy, but I
hmm
don't think anybody is, gonna be like, oh my gosh, we got to get Mark Sears in one. We're gonna tank for Mark, you know.
yeah, exactly,
So,
yeah. He's going to be a late
so
round, maybe a second round
right,
guy.
right. I mean, outside of Cooper Flag going one, I mean
Yeah,
that's pretty much the only guarantee. Anybody else, you're just like, I
there.
think it's a
There's been talk, those Rutgers guys, Ron Harper's son, and
oh
the
yeah,
other guy on that team, but. Uh,
That's probably your second and third guys. Yeah, I
For
wouldn't even
sure,
think
but it's
about.
funny. Our good buddy Nate Barfield actually made a point to me the other day in text. He's like, these guys are good, but if they can't get Rutgers if they're so good, but they can't get Rutgers to the tournament, then how good are they really? It might be a funny point to make, but
Yeah, but
I know when we played them, I was very impressed, particularly by
yeah,
Harper.
and they both put up big number. Was it
Hmm
well midweek they played Nebraska. I know I watched that
hmm
game. It was in Lincoln and tougher place to win. I mean the Huskers are actually having a good season there. But they came in and got the road win there. Both of the freshmen had big games. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's. But Harper, I think he's probably the number two pick after Flag. I would say. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. Yeah, I mean, he torched us, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
something
I mean, you
to.
look at it from that aspect. Yeah, if you can't take over the whole thing, yeah, I don't know, but
But yeah,
You also wonder how did Rutgers get these players?
hey, right? Yeah, that's some good NIL deal there.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
never
Just
been
they
a
even have
place
the
that's
end,
been a. I
you
don't
know.
know if I've ever remembered Rutgers doing anything of note in basketball in my
No,
lifetime.
no, not really.
But
And they
yeah,
get two like that. I
let's.
mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, crazy.
Whatever they've done is sold them on information. I mean, it worked out
Hmm.
well.
But yeah,
Did
but
Ron
but
Harper Senior go over to Rutgers? Is that maybe where it comes from?
I actually don't know. Let me look that up real quick. I don't think he
Because
did, but
yeah,
he went to. Where is it at? Well, it doesn't say here. Did he skip college?
didn't I go to college?
Did he? Ah, he played at Miami of Ohio. There you go.
Okay,
Grew up
okay,
in Dayton, from Miami of Ohio.
huh.
Uh, yeah, just
Hell of a defensive player.
no,
Not near the
and one
score
of
his son was.
one of the classic like tough guys of
Oh,
growing up
absolutely.
to. Man, he was that. I mean, in catalyst for two different dynasties. Played point guard for the Bulls for what about 5, 6
Yeah,
seasons there in the '90s,
yeah.
and then
Went
for
to
that
LA.
three-peat Lakers. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
5-time NBA champion. Um,
Started his
yeah,
career,
he,
had a good little run in Cleveland too.
yeah,
At the start of his
um,
career, and then went to the Bulls and the Lakers.
and
Yeah,
also had the unfortunate circumstance of playing with the Clippers in the early
yeah.
'90s too. But
89 to 94. They had rough
yeah,
times.
rough time. But yeah, that's 5-time, like I said, 5-time NBA champ and
Yeah,
one of the most well-respected players of his era
yeah, for sure.
for sure. But yeah, I think that's where we're at in the NBA season right now. Again, as we
Yeah,
always say, it's really getting close to trade deadline
go
time
time.
now. That'll
Yeah,
be the story of the next couple weeks.
for
Guys
sure.
like Cam Johnson and do the Pelicans do anything? What do the
Yeah,
contenders do? Where's Jimmy Butler? Does he
yeah,
is he going somewhere? Or is he gonna
yeah.
still be in Miami after the deadline passes?
Right. Yeah,
All right, so I guess the one thing left to talk about would be Monday night's national championship game. We
how we do.
covered it decently last weekend. After we recapped the semis, we looked at it a little bit, but real quick, I guess we can talk about what does each team need to do to win the game in your eyes? What does Ohio State need to do to finally live up to all this talent they've had for the whole Ryan Day era and before, and really cement themselves as an
Yeah,
elite team? And what does Notre Dame need to do to pull the upset? I'll let you
right.
talk. Go ahead.
I would say Ohio State just needs to do what they've been doing. I mean, they find ways to win games. We've seen them blow out. They blew out Tennessee. They blew out um, Oregon. They had to, of course, play a little different against Texas there. But they find ways to win. And they're just so talented. They have so many different ways to beat you. We've seen them beat them with the phenomenal wide receivers. We've seen them beat them with the running game. I mean, the defense is probably the most unheralded part of that team. With all the
Mm-hmm.
offensive weapons, and they don't give up many points. You know, even in that terrible loss to Michigan. I mean, the defense was on point all game there. So I mean, I think they just keep doing what they've been doing. I mean, if they play like they anything like they've done the first couple games in the playoffs, I mean, I think they'll be fine tomorrow night. The other side, Notre Dame. I mean, it's been a Cinderella run. It's been a fun run them what they've done. But I mean, they're it's crazy to think that they're gonna have to play even better than what they have to this point to win. I mean, they can't have any turnovers against Ohio State. They're really gonna have to shut down that passing game again. I mean, keep Jeremiah Smith, pretty much out of the game there. Can't let him beat you. But then they're gonna have to score points themselves. Um, I don't know if they're how their offense goes. They find we saw them, get the passing game going late against Penn State, but man. They definitely can't have the turnovers. They two picks can't happen. And I just don't. I think it's gonna be a close game. I just don't think that they have the enough horses to beat Ohio State unless Ohio State does something dumb.
I actually, that's exactly what I think. I think I would, bet man, I'd probably take Notre Dame in the points, just
Yeah,
because it's hovering around a touchdown, or all week, right?
right.
Maybe eight and a half.
Yeah,
So, and I think just the way they've been playing, they're so well coached. It's a little bit of not quite team of destiny vibes, but kind of, they're fighters,
you get
and
that feeling. I mean, they
yeah,
beat
yeah,
Georgia. They came back against Penn State. Everything
hmm
went their way at the end of that first half.
yeah, the way they
Yeah, you.
rebounded after the bad loss to NIU, the 10 straight wins
Yeah, I mean,
to in the season. Yeah.
yeah. Every game was a playoff game, pretty much. I
Hmm.
mean, a second loss, there's no way they get in the playoff.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
I
I think
mean,
I agree with you. I think Ohio State just has too much talent, too many weapons on the offensive side of the ball.
yeah,
Notre Dame just, I don't think they can match their explosiveness. They get big plays from the running backs, but it's not really their game. Riley
yeah.
Leonard's not dropping bombs.
No,
Uh,
he's not.
Jeremiah Love can be a home run hitter, but they would much rather grind it out and play hard nosed running
Yeah,
game, power running
it'd be
game. But
interesting to see if they can, if Riley Leonard can get it running or not.
yeah,
That's
and I
kind
think
of
that's where Notre Dame keeps it close and gives themselves a chance to win. Is they limit, um, they kind of play almost the Buffalo Bills kind of script there. They keep it really simple, really compact. They prioritize taking care of the ball over everything else. They run the ball, control the clock, and keep that Ohio State
they're a
offense off the
disciplined team.
field. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're, yeah, like you said, they're well coached and disciplined enough to do that. It's just a matter of doing it once you get out there and play that blue
right.
chipper, those 5 stars, and
Yeah,
great athletes there on the Buckeye
absolutely.
side of the ball. So I think probably, yeah, close, maybe a late Buckeyes touchdown seals it, or maybe
Yeah,
Notre Dame just doesn't have the horses until the end and they just kind of get gassed, you know.
right. The
Uh,
interesting thing
mhm.
though is if they do pull it off, what happens to Ryan Day?
Mhm. I mean,
That's. I
again,
mean, he's fine.
I think we're in
He's.
agreement that they'd be fools to fire him, right? I
Oh,
mean, the
absolutely.
guy's lost like what 5 total games in his
Yeah.
6, 7 years, whatever he's been
Yeah, I
there
mean, he
now.
has a amazing record, just the struggles against Michigan, and
Yeah.
but I mean, if you, but I mean, and not only that, I mean, you got to look at how you make a national championship this year. It's not just getting that one win
Hmm.
anymore. I mean, they went on a roll. I mean, they had a gauntlet. I mean, they had to beat Tennessee, they had to beat Oregon, they had to beat Texas.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, they'd have to beat Notre Dame. I mean, that's a gauntlet.
And they
I
had
mean,
to
it's
do that
not.
all on the heels of that Michigan loss, and everyone,
Yeah,
everyone being like, "Oh no, they're choking it away now." And
yeah. And even now,
uh,
that I mean, everything's still talking about that game. So, I mean, it's been a lot. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens. If you were to lose, how people would react to that.
hmm.
On the other side, if they do win the game, you know, you know, wh-
The funniest thing is if they win and he leaves.
that's what I was thinking because I mean, at that point, you then boom, I've done it. I've won the title. Well, y'all shut the hell up. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would
Screw
be
y'all.
hilarious. I don't think he does that, but
No,
that would
yeah,
be
that's.
epic considering some of the way he's been treated, his family's been treated.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a tough place. Columbus is a tough place. I mean, if
Actually,
you're not winning that national title,
hmm,
you're not. I mean, they rough.
yeah, it's kind of. I think they get left out of the conversation for like craziest fan bases sometimes, and they shouldn't be. Man, they are no different than Alabama, Texas, Georgia,
They
any
might
of
be
these schools.
worse.
Yeah, they might be worse because
Because
They
I don't think
often
anybody.
are the most talented team in the country. Uh,
Yeah, they've recruited very well, but I
mhm.
mean they go after his family, like his kids get.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever really happened with like Nick Saban's family feeling threatened or
Well, I
anything
think
like that.
people knew better because that would
Right.
you get disappeared real quick. Miss Terry
Yeah.
would come talk to you if you.
Right.
Well,
But
that
I mean,
man,
I feel
Kristen
like
Saban never really needed
no,
help
no, she
defending
handled
herself
it
either.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to, it always seems like win or lose, it's always pins and needles with the
Hmm.
situation. And even if he wins, then people are still gonna be, well, you still lost to Michigan. So
Yeah.
like, chill out.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
just won the title. It seems like a lose-lose situation. And then on the other side, I mean, Marcus Freeman. I mean, he's already elevated himself to such levels at this point to even made the
Mhm.
national title game after that loss to Northern Illinois. Man, if they were to win, I mean, he plummets. He jumps to maybe the second best coach in college football. I mean, behind still probably Kirby's one, but I mean that would take him to new heights.
Mhm.
The interesting part, of course, he played at Ohio State. He's from Ohio.
Mhm.
Um, and then the other interesting thing, the third year thing with Notre Dame coaches winning the title in their third year. They've done it several
Mhm.
times. Um, and then he's from Ohio. The other coaches from Ohio that have beaten Ohio State in national title games, Urban Meyer and Les Miles. So
Huh. Interesting.
yeah.
I didn't realize
So who knows? So,
Les was from Ohio. I knew
yeah,
he's a
I
Michigan
saw
man,
that some.
but
Yeah, I saw that somewhere. But
I think the
so
most
that
interesting, one of the most interesting things regarding Marcus Freeman and all that is that he has managed to make Notre Dame the likable team in this
yeah, who
matchup.
knew?
Yeah, right. That's not something I'd ever thought because I always, as an Alabama fan, I always kind of, disliked, hated Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Tiny soft spot for them because my mom, her dad, they were kind of those old school Notre Dame fans because they were
yeah,
Catholic and they were
right.
the big program
Yeah,
when he was younger and
for
the
sure.
newspaper era of football, etc. And
Yeah,
uh, but I always fuck Notre Dame, but
yeah,
they're if I had a rooting interest, it'd be them tomorrow.
yeah. I would say
Um,
so. I think a
you
lot of
know,
people surprisingly feel that way because,
Yeah, I think for the sake of
like,
my preseason prediction of Ohio State winning it all,
honestly,
then
yeah,
yeah,
that
it'd be
makes you
nice
look
to
good.
it'd be nice to get one right for change. But
Yeah, for sure.
uh, either way, I
Yeah,
think
it's definitely the most likable Notre Dame team I've ever seen.
absolutely, yeah.
Lou Holtz. I couldn't stand Lou Holtz. I don't like Brian Kelly. Like,
Oh God, no. I would say, how funny is it that he left Notre Dame, specifically said in his LSU press
uh,
conference he was there to because he felt he had the tools at
yeah,
LSU to win a national title, and now
yeah,
he hasn't even made the playoff, and Notre
right.
Dame is on here in a title
On
game.
the cusp of,
I do take something back. Hold up. The funniest thing would not be Ryan Day winning and then leaving. The funniest thing would be Lou Holtz coming there to fight Ryan Day. That would actually be.
you see his comments last week.
Yeah,
He
I
has
did.
said
Yeah.
that he said the only reason we might lose if we lose this game is so Ryan Day doesn't lose his job. He said I wasn't gonna watch the game at home. I'm gonna take my old ass to the game, pretty much drag myself to the game. So man, we'll
Oh, that's funny.
see what
Uh, yeah,
see
Lou's a
what comes
feisty
of
old
it there.
guy.
He is.
uh,
The funny thing, I remember when we played him in the national title game in 2012.
mhm.
All of a sudden, they had all these Catholic commercials coming on, and it
Oh
was
yeah.
Lou Holtz and all of them about
uh,
ma- bring the, everything back to the Catholic Church and bringing people back in.
mhm.
And then we slaughtered them, and those commercials went away real quick.
Oh, went away so fast. Ran over
Like,
Manti Te'o and his
yeah,
pretend girlfriend.
yeah.
Uh,
Um, but yeah,
it was
most likable Notre Dame team probably ever.
absolutely yeah.
And it should be a fun game there. Hopefully, we get the game that we hope. Hopefully it's not a blowout in any fashion, unless the
Hmm.
blowout were Notre Dame because that'd be pretty funny. But
That would be if they came out and ran them off. I will say I don't think they've actually made a change, but I don't know if it's the TVs I'm watching on what. It looks like they've changed the shade of their pants a little bit to match their helmet. It's still not. This is something I mentioned. My mom's a big Notre Dame fan, and she absolutely hates the change they made to the helmet to go with the kind of glittery gold. She always talks about there used to be the tradition and the actual gold and the painting of the helmets. And I remember growing up, the helmets match the pants. If you look at a '90s Notre Dame uniform, and that's I've probably said it on here a time before. I know I've said it on social media if you follow me, but one of my sports pet peeves is when the shade of the helmet does not match the uniform shade. And Notre Dame's one of the worst at it. They got that kind of puke gold pants with the shiny gold helmet. Even Alabama a little bit. Our helmet doesn't quite match our jersey just enough to bother me. It's really bad when teams like the Lions do this every now and again. They'll have that all gray uniform with that silver helmet, and I'm like, come on, man, that's not.
That's not even close.
It's not even
Yeah.
close. But that's a weird, just pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it should be a fun game. Like you said, just hoping it's not a blowout unless it's the funny one, unless it's Notre Dame.
I mean,
beating the shit out of
all
them.
the history of the game. I mean, obviously, tickets are going. I think they said the cheapest tickets are like 900 in the nosebleeds. So I mean,
Nice.
obviously, it has the interest. It'll have a lot of people's eyes on the game. Just because of just the names Ohio State, Notre Dame, and
Mm-hmm.
just the national. You know, just two heavyweights of college football long term. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny no matter what you thought of the first year of the playoffs. I mean, obviously we got the matchup that is going to get eyes on it.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah, and
the
two
semifinals and the finals. I mean,
and two Midwest
four big,
teams going into the heart of SEC country down in Atlanta to play for the title
kind of
too.
kind of the reverse of the 2021 title with Alabama and Georgia going to
Georgia and Indy.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, but should be a phenomenal game, and hopefully, lives up to the hype. I mean,
yeah, and then it looks like there's been reports this week they'll have their meetings, the playoff committee, and weigh
yeah, I saw
any
that.
changes. I imagine the only change that they would make going into next year, because they're limited in what they can do because their contract
Right, it's
technically
a
goes until
contract.
2026, right? So
Right, yeah.
I think the only thing they'd really be able to do is change the way they seed, which I would assume will happen. Um, I think if they change it around this year, the top seeds would have been Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, and Texas.
Maybe, yeah.
Um, if I'm thinking that right, and
So that
so
would probably mean for much better first round games.
yeah, which is fine.
You would
Yeah, it
think
would have been
at least
Oregon, Georgia,
hey,
Texas,
look,
Penn State were your
yeah,
top four, and
yeah.
so then you would have had, if you go by the rankings, you would have had Indiana, Boise as your 8-9 game with the winner playing Oregon. Your 7-10 game would have been Tennessee, SMU. Um, your
So on paper, maybe look better. It would
a little better, yeah.
Arizona,
They
Arizona
would
State
have.
would have played.
Arizona
Like,
State would have been your 11 seed, so they would have been in that 6-11 game
like,
against Ohio State.
mhm.
Um,
And it would have
and
been
then the
Notre Dame.
5-12 game would have been Notre Dame, Clemson, which so
Mhm.
that winner would have gone on to play the 4 Penn State. So yeah,
Huh.
that's yeah. So again, your
Probably a little
theoretical
better games for
bracket there,
the
yeah, it would have
first
been
round.
like we said. So yeah, Indiana, Boise State. That one's played in Indiana. They would have
Mhm.
winner of that would have gone to play Oregon. So that's some interesting storylines there. The Tennessee, Boise, or SMU, excuse me, that one's in Knoxville. Winner of that one gone on to play Georgia.
Yeah.
Um, Ohio State, what I say? Ohio State, Arizona State. The winner of that one would have gone on to play Texas, and then of course what we just said, Notre Dame, Clemson would have gone on to play Penn State. So yeah, there's some.
So a lot of them would have just got played earlier than what they did.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. So some changes, but probably that's probably the change that I bet they make if they do anything at
yeah.
all is they just get rid of that you don't have to be a conference champion to get a bye.
Right.
And
Which is
it's
probably
weird.
smart.
It's probably it's smart. I think it's the right call, and it's weird. The only defense I've seen of it online this week is people saying, "Well, it's what happens in the NFL." Well, that's who cares. That's not. They shouldn't be looking.
And I
If
don't think the
that
NFL. I don't think the NFL should automatically. And
no,
they're
yeah, I
looking
think.
at. Some people are looking at that as far as the division
Mm-hmm.
winners getting the
Mm-hmm.
buys. Because I mean,
Yeah, we
I mean,
saw it.
of course it worked. I mean, it worked out fine. I mean,
Yeah,
with
you
I
saw it
mean,
this
if
year
you're
though. Like
wondering,
Minnesota had to go on the road to LA, and
and they got it
uh,
handled. But I mean,
yeah,
they probably should have had a home game. Huh.
yeah. For the
Um.
season they had, they deserved a home game. Yeah, I am all in favor of just look. The best records get home court,
Yeah.
home field, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
And the what's the name gets you a. What gets you in the playoffs? You win your division or you win your
Yeah,
conference. You're in, but you're
yeah, I'm
not
fine with that. Yeah,
guaranteed that you're getting a bye. And as we
yeah,
see, the buys really did nothing for anybody this year. Now, maybe in some of the
exactly. All
matchups,
four
but
teams with buys lost. Yeah, and
as you
as
look
I've
at
said
that and
many
say,
times now, if I'm making changes, if I'm on that committee, I'm the head. I'm saying uh, all the all the games before the title game are on campus.
yeah,
Every excuse I see to the contrary of that is just some bullshit. It's like, oh well, it's harder, the
you at
one I've
least
seen that's the
you
funniest
should
one.
at least sorry,
If you're a
you should
top
at
four seed, you
least
should get a home game, right?
yeah, you should at
Yeah,
least have that second round be a where your top teams that got a bye get a home game as well.
yeah, absolutely.
You get a whole different game. I mean, you have Georgia. Notre Dame beat. I mean, they did beat them in the South, but I mean, if that game is
In Athens, at
that's
Sanford,
in
yeah,
Athens, I don't know if Notre Dame wins that game. They
yeah.
might
Or
have.
if Boise State gets Penn State on the blue turf,
Wow,
if
you don't know.
Arizona
Who
State gets
knows?
if Arizona State gets Texas in that home field, is it just enough? Does that change? If it's not the Rose Bowl, if it's up in Eugene and at Autzen, that
Yeah,
give Oregon the boost they need? They won there earlier
yeah,
in the year, so
yeah.
it's just something to think about.
Maybe it does, maybe it
Yeah,
doesn't, but I mean, I would much rather have seen those games played in those spots than.
exactly, because that is the part of the beauty of college football is the pageantry and the passion. And again, the
Well,
one big argument I've seen counter to that is people saying, "Oh, well, it's harder to get fans to campus." That's when a lot of universities on. I'm sorry. Do you
people,
seriously telling me that if there's a playoff game in
people are gonna
Ohio
come to that
Stadium
fucking.
or Bryant Denny or Neyland Stadium, just to name a few, you're telling me people aren't going to come because school's not in? Just please.
Because guess what? All schools, most people
Hmm.
are still in state, so they're only a
Yeah.
couple hours away at home. They might come to the game and go back home for the rest of the holiday, but guaranteed they're coming to that
In the
game.
game. Oh, well, the student sections might not get. Please, students are
They
figuring out a way
will.
to get back. The
They're gonna get
universities would figure out a
there.
way to bus their students back if they needed
Yes,
to. Like, yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, these are all
And
dumb
you and the
arguments. Put the
local
games on
and the
campus, damn it.
local and the local communities are coming to that game.
Absolutely, and that's another. You think a place like Tuscaloosa, where I mean, most of their money is made off of football weekends. You think they don't
Oh,
want an extra one or two games a
oh,
year? Like, come on,
um, yeah. No,
yeah, come on, yeah,
people are coming to those games. I don't care. People
yeah.
are coming to those games.
That's just a
Because you
dumb
can't say
argument
that
to me.
because at the
Yeah,
same time, then your argument is even more mute because you have the neutral game.
hmm,
The college students are less likely to go to a Fiesta Bowl or a Sugar Bowl than they are in their own home stadium.
exactly. Especially with the ticket allotment. I think for this
Yeah,
national title game, there's only 1,000
horrible,
total student tickets. It's
terrible.
bullshit. Yeah,
That's terrible. And you
absolutely
know the
bullshit.
chances.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the they even get in a qualification to be in. I'm sure you have to be like a
Mhm.
senior with X amount of, I'm sure great grades. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of different things.
Mhm.
And what college student by themselves is going to be able to afford a ticket if they're, not getting a student, allotment.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
But yeah, That's everything I have in my notes for this week. You have anything else from the world of sports you want to touch on before we go?
Well, I think we're good. I think we talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I mean, the Dodgers got another fucking
Yeah,
star.
they
You
got.
know, it's getting
They
old at
pretty
this point.
much.
Damn it.
Yeah, I mean they pretty much have all the Asian stars are in LA
Hmm.
now. Like they,
Yeah,
uh,
it's crazy.
great,
Just
another
it's
great
crazy.
pickup for them. I mean they're just
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to talk
yeah,
about fuck the
yeah,
Dodgers.
yeah, pretty much.
But yeah. So what has been done up real good for you this week?
Well, I'd probably say yesterday my daughter went to a to a tournament, academic tournament, and got a gold medal for the team came in first overall, and then her individual event she came in like one of her individual events she came in third. First time she was on team last year, but didn't necessarily get any medals. But as a sophomore, got two this time. So I mean that's top of the line.
That's awesome. Yeah.
How about you?
I will say what has done up real good for me this week. It was just kind of good solid week, staying warm through the
Man,
blizzard of
been cold.
nuts. It
Mhm.
was really cold. We had a couple days where it kind of crept back into the 50s, but it's getting dropping tonight.
I heard
Uh,
tomorrow super cold in Alabama. I
super
was
super cold. Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
make
I
sure
talking
those
my wife. We
pipes.
talking with my wife's people down there. I said it's getting down like 11. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
those wind chills are getting cold,
Jesus.
man. Overnight, yeah. So I will say that heating, heating is what is done up real good.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I probably mentioned it in the spring, but we had our HVAC unit replaced,
Yeah.
and it's one of those combo beast units, and it
Nice.
really it helps in the summer. It keeps things
Yeah.
cool in the house. We didn't have to run it, overtime, so it brought down cost a bit, and then
Oh, yeah, for sure.
in the winter, the big thing is the old one. Anytime it rained during the winter, the heat would cut out, and
Oh,
we had guys come out and look at it, and they would fix it 3 4 times in a winter, and every time it happened, the silver lining of that, I guess, is we didn't have to pay, but for the first time, because we'd call them up a week later, be like, "Hey, man, this shit cut out on us again."
yeah.
It's cold. So finally, we had a different guy come out and look at it, and he figured it out right away. It's like, oh, it's because he looked up and saw, like, oh, you got this gutter falling, dropping rain right in here, and it's just filling up this
Cool.
pan or whatever, shorting out some board. So he
Huh. Yeah.
made some changes, and then when we got time to, we replaced the unit, so now we got one that's uh
A beast.
it's perfectly functional, a beast, keeps the house nice and toasty, and we don't have to set it too high, and we got a over 100-year-old house, so
Yeah, gets drafty.
it's yeah, sometimes that can be, yeah, there's still spots. I fixed a bunch of little cracks and crevices here and there indoors, and every now and again I'll walk by something to feel a draft and be like, damn it.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we got the gutter fixed, so there's no more leaking into it.
It's
And
important.
yeah, so it's nice. A good heater. When
Nice.
you're To those of you, if you're out there house shopping, remember to pay attention to how
Mhm.
old that HVAC unit is when you're
Yeah, that's
buying a house.
huge. Absolutely. That changed your whole life.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. With that said, though, that does it for us this week, folks. Thank you as always for listening. Do subscribe and like and give us good ratings, and tell your
Mhm.
friends about us, and tell anybody who wants to throw some money at us to get in contact with
Absolutely.
us. You can find us
Absolutely.
on social media and shoot us a message. Uh, Check out the alabamatech.com for all the good, all our podcasts are there, and some writings. As we said, a little bit of end of the year 2024 review stuff has been going on the website for some folks. Blaine and I finished up our coverage of the challenge last week.
Yeah,
Um, a decent final to this season.
for sure.
Uh, but yeah, that is it, folks. As always, keep it done up real good yourselves out there. And Greg, buddy, see you next time.
Yes, sir.